I felt like I'd been building someone else's company for so long. I wanted to go and do it myself.
Peanut app. It's called Peanut.
Michelle Kennedy.
Peanut is a social network which connects women across these different life stages. There is nothing like being a room full of women who will tell you exactly how everything is.
People think as soon as you have a baby, you've lost your identity.
Yeah.
You don't go out, you don't want to look hot.
I wanted to make a product that felt cool. I had a 6-month-old when we started building Bumble. No one will outwork me. I'll put the hours in.
One of our listeners has got £1,000 of what are the first steps they should do.
It is astonishing how many people I meet and I'm like, what's your route to market? Don't know. The most important thing, there are thousands of businesses launched every single month and most will fail.
How important is company culture?
If your team don't sing from the same hymn sheet as you, it won't work. The easiest thing in the world is to say no because you'll never be wrong. If you say no to someone and then they make it successful, you're like, well, I was just being cautious. Women are responsible for trillions of dollars of household spend. We make the decisions on 85% of what goes in the home.
It's 100% in my house.
Investing in other women is high up there. Women make really good businesses statistically, but we still get 2% of all venture raised. We have to have more women who can invest in women. If you see an opportunity, you can be the one. It doesn't have to be you sitting down the pub saying, you know what someone should do? You do it.
I just want to say a massive thank you to all our new followers and all our new subscribers for following me and clicking that button. You know, this is a huge passion project for me and I want you to be part of this journey. So keep listening, keep subscribing and enjoy. The biggest risk you've ever taken and what did you learn from it?
Oh, definitely leaving Badoo. I had a really nice job, a really nice, I also loved it. So it was a big risk in terms of like leaving the role, but also, was I going to love doing this founder thing as much as I loved it? And I just left it all and went to start it on my own. And I had loads of restrictive covenants. I couldn't hire anyone that used to work with me and biggest risk. And what did I learn from it? Fortune favors the brave. I don't know.
I had to say that bravery. Yeah.
I just had to, you just do it. I could never have predicted that it would have taken this path. It has been amazing and awful and exciting and depressing and all of those things, all of the feelings. But it's totally showed me what I can do.
Yeah. Best piece of advice you've ever received?
I think the best piece of advice is why not you? It can be you. Like if you see a problem, if you see something, if you see an opportunity, you can be the one. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be you sitting down the pub saying, you know what someone should do? Like then you do it.
Yeah.
And that took me a while to feel brave enough to do it, but it can be you. Why not you?
Describe a moment that completely changed your perspective on life.
Having my son. That's a bit cheesy maybe, but having Finn, like it totally changed everything became about him and how I felt about the decisions I made, the life I was living. Yeah. Was I proud of who I was? Was I proud of what I was doing? Could I do something better? How could I make the world better for him? He was so perfect. And, you know, like, how do I keep it? He's still like, at both of them, I have totally changed my perspective on life.
I am that boring person. I went to an event the other day, sitting next to some guy, this Australian guy. Pete was on the other side of me, showing him baby pictures. I'm like, I am that person. I hate.
I am that person. I am that
when you go out and someone showing me pictures of a baby, I'm like, it's a baby. That's me now.
No, it's so awful. And I also, like, if someone say, I've got Finn on my screensaver and someone says, is that your son? I'm like, yeah. And that's it. Yeah. It's like an invitation.
Floodgates open.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Let me show you. Here's my daughter too.
Yeah.
No, it's awful. Yes, I am that bore.
Yeah, me too.
I agree.
So how do you define success?
I think success has changed and what it looks like for me has changed. And maybe that's a bit to do with motherhood. Maybe that's a bit to do with just seeing what I perceive to be success in other people and then knowing the real behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And I think that what our perception of success has been, you know, build the business, get the exit, do all of those things. And sure, they're all great. But actual success for me is about, have I built with integrity? Have I built the company that I thought I would? Do people love the product? And just that satisfaction from things.
Yeah.
And it's really easy to forget to live and to have those moments of success. And we've done things that I never thought would be possible, but it's not, don't believe what you see. Like success is it can look very different behind the scenes. And so I think I've changed how I view success now.
Yeah.
Happiness.
Yeah.
Bit corny as well, but it's true. It's true.
I don't know if that's just comes with age, you know.
I do think
that is me. Like, you know, if my kids are happy, if I'm happy, that is a success.
It is that. You wake up and you're like, look at where I am, look at what I've done. Have I done it in a way that makes me feel happy about that? Do I feel like my kids are safe and well? And like that is success now. And it has totally changed from got to be all of the things. I still feel that pressure, but it's different. I don't think that's what will give me success.
Of course.
It's a different thing.
Talk me through a day in the life of Michelle Kennedy.
Oh, a day in the life. God, I think it's going to be really underwhelming.
And I know you don't go to the gym. You should just tell me.
I don't go to the gym. I'm so lazy.
You got no time.
I think I'm going to really underwhelm you. You know how it is. You're like, you wake up before the kids, but your kids are in. My kids are in at like 6:15. Hi. You're like, hi.
Same.
And that's it. You're
Hi,
just
bye.
Bye. You're just off. You're like, it's breakfast. It's get ready for school. It's a school drop. I drop both of my kids every morning. And then
I hate doing the school run.
do you? Why?
Pete loves it.
I love it. I love
It
it.
sets the tone for the day for me.
Oh, does it?
So
What
if it's a stressful journey,
yeah.
which is only a 5-minute journey, but if they're
No, I
killing
know.
each other in the
No,
car,
I know, that is
wanna,
the worst.
I want to get in the front. I want to sit here.
I want to choose the music is our one.
Yeah.
I want to choose the music. I'm like, neither of you are. And then I put the radio on. Oh, no one listens to the radio. You're so old. I'm like, I am.
Smooth.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Same.
So we do the school drop. I love the school drop, but probably because I don't know,
My husband loves it, but no.
I just get to see, bye. Like, I mean, I don't see anyone else. I just see my kids and I drop Finn and then I drop Nuala. And then 2 days a week I go into the office and 3 days I work from home.
Okay.
Since COVID, that's like where we've got to as a business. So we do.
Do you not get distracted at
2
home?
days in.
Because when I work from home, I'm like, oh, I need to do that. I need to do this.
Do I? No. Do you know what? No. I think I'm better. I'm at my desk earlier because I don't have to commute. So I drop them. I'm home. I'm in. As aforementioned, very lazy person. So I could sit at that desk for hours. Like nothing changes. I might go to the toilet, come back, I'm there. So no, I just am there. I find I miss being with the team. Like to be creative, you have to be around people, right? And you have to get that like energy and that buzz and like chemistry, reading people's real emotions. That's really almost impossible over Zoom. Like you need to know how people are feeling. So I much prefer like being in. But anyway, thank you, COVID. We are where we are. 2 days a week in, 3 days a week at home. And I do two team calls every day, but starting at 9:30. And then the rest of the day is calls. It's speaking with brands, or it's speaking with investors, or it's speaking with the team, and it's talking about what we're building next, results, how's it going, assessments. So it's full. It's really full. And I would say my last call is usually around 5:30.
Wow.
And then by the time kids are home and you've kind of, well, they're home anyway, actually, that's not true. But once I'm ready to like emerge and re-engage and you do bedtime and you've probably got a little bit of catch up after that. And that's it. I am that person. I'm quite a boring person. I think I'm borderline like recluse, to be honest.
So am I. You know, I've got friends who are like, you're a grandma, you don't want to leave the house. But I'm like, I love being in my house.
Me too. I am so homey.
Yeah, me too.
I love being at home. I love. Friday night is my favorite night of the week. I get the duvets in.
Yeah.
Kids get the like snacks. I get the wine and we sit and watch something.
Love it.
And it's my like, what could be better
I'm getting
than
to that age now where we can all
Can't
watch a
wait.
family film because my youngest is nearly 5, so he can sit and watch a film now. So I love it. We all get the quilts. And
That's it. That's what we do.
Yeah.
It's the best bit. And they just about agree. Because mine's also like nearly 5. So they just about agree on what to watch.
Yeah.
Finn will make like loads of concessions because Nuala will absolutely kick off when it's not her way. But we can just about do it. It's amazing. Like it's totally my favorite part. So I think I am not that interesting. And then you know what the weekend's like.
Yeah.
It's football, it's horse riding, it's this, it's that. Like you don't stop. So, but it's at the weekend I feel like I lead 2 lives because I'm so mum. I can hardly think about work. I do work on Sunday night because otherwise I get the anxiety.
Yeah.
But I just don't have time on a Saturday. Like by the time everyone's got to their party, class, whatever, you're just, it's full.
I feel you at that one. If you could master one skill tomorrow, what would it be?
Okay, this is really, really random, but it was only because I was talking about it with Rich the other night, so I feel like it must be a real thing. I really, really, really love musical theatre. I am that person. I was like a stage kid. So I love going to anything and I'll watch any of them, the new ones, whatever it is. And I'm always thinking about like the stage set and who did that and the costumes and whatever. So if I could master anything, I would love to like go back and learn how to be involved in like stage sets and like.
You still could.
I still could.
I was talking about this to my husband yesterday. I was I'd actually like to be a professional tennis player. I've decided.
I could see
just
you.
out of nowhere.
Great.
The
I
outfit,
could see that for you. You look great in that
traveling
outfit.
the world, big
Great.
campaigns.
Tan. Perfect.
Although I don't tan.
Yeah, but
I'm a white freckly.
Hi. Have you met me? Yeah. This is me tan. But I could see that.
But I'm shit.
Yeah,
I'm shit at it.
It's training. I think it's all training. And also determination, fortitude, like whatever it is that makes you like tick and get on like into it. But I think about that a lot. That's like the next stage of my career. I've got one more actually in between that. And
What's
then
that?
I would like to do a bit more investing. I already do it and I would like to do it a bit more. I'm really interested in it. And I think a lot about the world, where it's going, the unknown unknowns. Like if you think about the fact we didn't even know there was an app store. When I was working in tech first, there was no app store. Didn't exist. There was no apps. So to even imagine that this is where we've got to, I like to think about, or at least listen to other people thinking about what the other unknown stuff is. I think that's exciting.
Very. So you've built a groundbreaking social network app. You're obviously very ambitious, very driven. What was your childhood like and who inspired you? Were you born with this or?
Oh, it's a great question. No, I grew up in Peterborough. So for anyone who knows Peterborough, like it was a very, very normal life. My mum is Irish and my dad is Scottish. And so we lived in Peterborough with no family. Yeah. So it was just us as a unit. And, my dad's a Sparky and my mum was working like several jobs to like, pay the way. And that was life. And I didn't know any different. I'm an only child. Okay. So I spent a lot of time on my own, actually. So was always thinking and like dreaming about stuff. But really, I think probably my mum's super pushy, right? She's Irish and strong and like, get the education and and that was the one thing that I was absolutely schooled in. Is I had to do well at school. She didn't care about anything else. Like could do what I want. I could be like do dancing or whatever it was, but I had to do well at school.
And did you listen to your mum? Because my kids don't listen to anything I say.
No, I know. It's so funny, isn't it? Also, my kids have got no fear of me and I was absolutely petrified of my mum.
Same.
I still am.
I say to my kids, I'm not your friend.
That's it.
I'm your mum.
Why are you
I am your friend, but I'm not. Like you have to.
No, respect me.
They just go no. And they're good kids, but zero fear.
Zero fear. That's how I feel about mine. And I still am totally terrified of my mum.
Yeah.
So there you go. But yes, I did listen to her. And my mum's from like a really big Irish family. And I think it was just always clear to me that a lot of sacrifices were being made for me to have opportunity that she didn't have. And therefore, it was really on me to like work hard and do it. And I got, and you do all the things. My first job when I was 15 and I used to work Thursday nights after school in the shopping centre and then Saturday. And I kind of got a taste for like my own money. That was great. But I didn't want to work in that store anymore.
Yeah.
And then, I was always thinking about the next. So then the next is I got a Saturday job in a bank because that felt like really good. Yeah. So from like 17, I did that and that paid for me through uni. So
you were the first person in your family to go to uni.
Yeah. And that was like to be honest, it was never even a question. It was be a lawyer, be a doctor, be an accountant, be a teacher, but be a professional. Now it's really funny because now I think about the kids and I'm like, you could be anything.
I know.
Like the world's your oyster. Like, but it was really about be a professional. And
but I think that's like a sign of the times.
Do you?
I do because back in the day, to be a lawyer or a doctor, that was like the ultimate
that was the
job,
thing, right? But it's quite like, I didn't even know what else was out there. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to say. I had no clue. Like I loved dancing and I really would have loved to do something in that space. And my dad was pretty like clear with me. He was like, absolutely not. You get a real job. That's a real job. And that's how it was. So like, there was no way I was going to come back to him and say, can I go to stage school? Are you joking? Like, absolutely not. So it was just, the options were pretty narrow, which was really good because I had amazing discipline. Like, no one will outwork me. I will always work harder than anyone else. I don't care. I don't care about working late in the night. I don't care about getting up at 4 and doing it. I'll put the hours in because I always have.
Yeah.
And so I'm not scared of doing the work. And I think maybe that's from my mum and also my dad. You know, he was up at 4 every morning, goes on site. Everyone around me was working all the time to like make it work. So I've always had that work ethic, I think. And that means that I don't get it when people don't want to do the work. I do have that feeling where like people don't want to dig in or be responsible for what they're doing or take ownership or be curious and ask questions. Like I can't relate to that. I don't understand it.
And I think you see that more and more.
It's totally like confusing to me because I don't know how we'll have more ideas in the world if everyone just kind of does enough. Like there has to be more that we can do, I think.
Because even like with my kids, like Pete and I, we both work.
Yeah.
As much as we can. And, you know, my mum always works. So I feel like I've got a very good work ethic. And my kids see that, you know, I make sure that I work after they're in school and I'm home for when they come back, like most of the time. But I'm worried that they won't have any drive now because they live in a more privileged life.
Of course, I think the same.
And you can't blame them for it because that's their normal.
Totally. And we've worked this hard so that they had that opportunity, right? Because I live this all the time. And I think about like, what is it that made me have my drive? Well, definitely my mum and dad. And then how can I make them have drive if, as you say, their normal is totally different.
Yeah.
And, but same, they see me in rich work. Like, you know, they know what it takes. They've seen me cry about work. They've seen me, you know, go and do meetings that I didn't want to do. I had a board meeting last week and I was making a like drink beforehand and Finn was like, are you all right? Because I was obviously pulling a face. And I was like, I've got a board meeting, Finn. He was like, do you feel happy about it? I was like, I'm always nervous. I'm always nervous about it. And he was like, are you? Why? But aren't they on your side? You know, and all these questions. And he's thinking about it. And that is a different type of drive, I think. But yes, they have more opportunity than us. But great, like I wanted that.
So you studied law?
Yes, studied in Sheffield. And so my version of law in my head was like Ally McBeal. Do you remember Ally McBeal?
I loved Ally McBeal.
I loved Ally McBeal.
God.
That's why we dress like this. I'm sure it's Ally McBeal. Right. I was obsessed with that whole thing. And that in my head was what it was going to be like. I was going to have a bar underneath the office and, you know, and
Dancing Baby.
I met John. Like the whole thing. I loved all of it. And then I went to be a lawyer and it's turns out not like Ally McBeal actually at all. It's not even like The Good Wife. It's very different to any of those things that I thought we were going to experience. I trained in Newcastle. I loved living in Newcastle. I loved what I was doing and followed the heart, moved down to London and started as a corporate lawyer. And you're working till 2, 3 a.m. and it's not intellectual work. It's like paginating, creating bundles, doing due diligence. And you're like, this is not what I thought this was going to be about. I thought we were going to be like doing deals. And you start to get to do the deals, but it is just a different world. And I was always the friend. I would miss the birthday. I'd turn up late for dinner because I was on a deal or whatever it was. And I remember one of my best friends from uni and going to her parents' house in Kent and sleeping for an entire weekend because I'd done so many all-nighters for like 2 weeks. She was like, you need to come home with me. And she took me home and I slept the whole way in her car. And I slept the whole weekend at her house and probably had a moment of, is this life now? Is this what we do now?
Because surely it's only going to get more intense.
That's it. And
higher up the...
Exactly. I couldn't actually see how that was going to change. The other interesting thing that I started to understand about it is it's about sales. I never knew that to be a lawyer, you actually have to sell. You have to get your clients. You have to be the one that wins the pitch. And so you start to like learn some of these things. Anyway, I had a couple of like attempts to leave, to go in-house. if I'm going to be a lawyer, let it be in something that I really love. So I was going to go to a fashion house. I had a job to be an in-house lawyer there. The pay was terrible, but I was like, but I love fashion. And, you know, someone said to me at the time, a contract is a contract, just so you know. And I was like, right. And then another one actually was a massive agency, artist agency. And I thought, same point. And then I was doing acquisitions for one particular client. And they were like, come in-house to us and set up the legal function and help us like deal with all these businesses we've bought.
Wow.
And that was really exciting. It was biotech, totally different world, like nothing to do with my life. But I loved it because I was learning from, I mean, it was very white and male. I mean, I don't think there were any women actually, scientists. And but I was at the board meetings. So I got to go and listen to the interactions. What are you talking about? Like, why do you care about that? What's not working? I remember one day listening to the CEO giving out pay rises to 2/3 of the room and not to the remaining third because their division hadn't performed.
Oh, wow.
And I remember being like, oh.
I wouldn't want to be in that group.
I wouldn't, And also like, how did he deliver it and how did he feel afterwards? And, you know, it was amazing to be part of that. And then I was approached by one of the lawyers I used to work for, and he was like, I've got a new client. And it's a dating website. I was like, oh,
wow, that's completely.
That's so no. And my mum will kill me. Are you joking? And that was it. That kind of changed the course of my life. I went to meet the founder of the dating website, which was actually this amazing, had 52 million users. I'd never heard of it before. And he
But
was
you married at this point?
No, I was 27, 28.
Oh God, so young.
Yeah, so young. And but the guy was young. He was like in his early 30s. And it was his third business. And it was profitable. This tech company, this was before tech ever had to be profitable. Like Facebook had only just opened an office in London. And he had a profitable dating website, which wasn't about dating at all, really. It was a precursor to Tinder and all of those type of apps. And it was amazing.
So what were you doing? What were you doing for him?
So I met him. I had lunch with him and another guy who was going to be joining the board. And they were like, we need a lawyer. I was like, okay, tell me about the business. I didn't get it, actually. I couldn't understand because I was like, how are you making money? Through, and he was trying to explain it to me. I was like, what are you talking, aggregators? He kept saying this word aggregators. I was like, what is he talking about? I went into this office.
How do you perform in that environment when you don't, so you obviously didn't know anything about coding or software development or...
Totally. Do you know what the best thing is? Because I didn't have to, because they didn't hire me to be an engineer.
Yes.
They didn't hire me to do anything to do with product. They hired me to be a lawyer. So all of a sudden you can ask every question and no one thinks you're stupid.
Yeah.
Because you're allowed, because you're not meant to know. I wasn't meant to know any of it. And also I was just a bit younger and had no ego. So I was just like, I'll ask all of the questions all of the time. And what I didn't know is that he'd met loads of people and said no to all of them. And I didn't, and they were much more qualified than me. And I knew some of them. I only found out afterwards.
Oh my God.
And I didn't know. So I bowled into this lunch like, sure, sounds weird. And I don't think I want to work for a dating website, but cool, I'll take the lunch. And then went to this office in Denmark Street in Soho. And there were just like 30 guys writing code with headphones on, drinking Red Bull, eating hula hoops. And I was like,
what on earth?
Where am I?
Yeah.
I'd never seen anything like it before. And then you find one person who smiles at you, who's like, and then you can ask him, and I'd be like, what is going on?
Was that intimidating walking into a room full of men?
So scary. So scary. Most of them were not English. Most of them were not interested in who I was, didn't look up. The smell of man in that room was...
I can't even bear that.
That was...
Not good.
And also I'd been like, everyone wore suits. I'd been in like a super professional environment and everyone's in like t-shirts and jeans and And then there was one guy I remember and he was so nice. And I was like, what's an aggregator? And he was like, let me show you. Well, at the time it was basically, they were organizations. I think they're still around, but we do things differently now because Apple basically or Google take the cut. But they would basically go and take all of your revenue that you were making through different phone providers. So maybe it was like O2 or Orange or Vodafone, and they would go and take it all, aggregate it for you, take a cut, you get the rest. So they were like your middleman to aggregate all of your payments.
God.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Not me. Not me at that point. I just walked in. There was a pile of like contracts and it was like, can you work out what to do about this one? This, it was totally, and then it was, we've got an employment issue with this person. We need to set up a new tax structure here. And that was it. Off to the races. I was like, this is cool.
Wow. Is this where you met Whitney Wolfe?
So we were building, so that was, let's say that's 2010.
Okay.
And so life is very different. And I become GC, I set up the legal function, and then I start to acquire other functions in the business. So finance or BI or whatever it is, nosy questions.
Mm-hmm.
If no one's doing it, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll take that bit. And eventually I started to work alongside the founder like day to day.
Whitney's the founder of Bumble.
Whitney's the founder of Bumble, but this was the founder of Badoo. The company was called Badoo. And he was called Andre. And this was it was just at the emergence of like native products. So Tinder came out, and really what they did is transform dating in that way. Because if you think about life before Tinder, we weren't dating on an app.
No.
We just weren't. We definitely weren't using even a swipe interaction.
Yes.
And life was different, totally different. In fact, if someone told you they met online, you're like,
oh God.
Right?
Yeah, you'd think serial killer.
Right. Do you remember when it was totally? Do
Yeah.
you remember when it was on like breakfast TV and there'd be like a ticker and they met online? You'd be like,
yeah.
Right? And
you'd automatically write off the relationship.
100% you'd be like, I mean, how weird.
But now if you meet in person, it's weird. It's kind of done a full 360.
If you meet in person, it's like, what? Wow. So we lived that whole evolution. Everything was changing. It was really exciting actually, because we were like changing the product from a web product to a mobile product. And Tinder came out and really did something quite extraordinary, which is they changed the narrative around dating.
Yeah.
Right? They made it so cool to date in an app. All my friends were doing it on the pub on a Friday night. It went from, oh, Michelle works in dating too. Oh, Michelle's in dating too. It totally changed. And we knew that we needed to do something more at Badoo. We needed to talk to women. We needed to address a younger audience. We also wanted to get into the US. So we were always thinking about what that would look like. Whitney was in a public lawsuit with another company. And I felt very strongly that what we needed was her to help us understand how to speak to women, young women, a new market. And so I reached out to her, and me and Andre and her and other people in the Badoo business, we met and we started to talk about what we would do together and started building what became Bumble. So the rest is history. Bumble then became Topco and became the parent company of Badoo, and everything evolved from there. But the starting point was reaching out to her and saying, like, let's do something together.
So after Bumble, after Badoo and Bumble, what did you do next?
I loved what I was doing. I loved my job. Like, it was amazing. How great was that? I was running Badoo. I'm on the board at Bumble. Like, life is great. The products are cool.
Yeah.
It's exciting. I'm working with amazing people. But I had Finn. So I had a 6-month-old when we started building Bumble. And so
new baby and dating don't go hand in hand. I don't think I've been on a date with my husband since I've had any of my kids.
Literally, imagine the fact that you're like, in the day, you're thinking about all these, even just like what we were building was so cool.
Yeah.
And then at night, I was going home and like searching on Google and reading things on weird forums from 2012. Like, it was such a weird time.
Yeah, for nappy rash and
why won't he sleep? Is it normal?
Yeah.
Like all of these things. So I was leading like this really double life. And I think it's actually why I formed such a bond with Whitney, because to me, I felt quite protective of her because, she was going through something, and I just wasn't with Finn in the day. I was working in the day and then obsessing over him at night. Like that was my life. And I felt like that we needed a product that was a bit more cool and relevant and that I wanted to use. And I lived with the idea for years and years. And then in 2016, I was like, I'm going to do it. I had the taste for it. I'd seen what had happened. I felt like I'd been like building someone else's company for so long.
Yeah.
I wanted to go and do it myself. So I took the jump, I took the risk, and I stayed on the board of Badoo and Bumble, and I left. And I started I'd had a few ideas
But
first.
that must have been like so scary to do, because obviously you've got a new baby.
Yeah.
You had the security of a job.
Yeah.
You know, a
Mortgage.
fantastic job.
Yeah.
You know, you've got bills to pay,
Yeah.
and to go out on your own. That's that's not the best time. And if you look at it,
No, it was
logically,
it was so scary. Like, I remember Finn was 2.5 when I was like, I'm going to do this. He was just about to start nursery. My mum had looked after him before that. And then he was going to start nursery. And the hours of nursery meant that I needed like other childcare. Mum didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
She was tired. And so I knew I had to pay for nursery and childcare. But I also knew that if I didn't do it, then there would be no time. Also, like sometimes like momentum wise, I just had it at that was the time. And by the way, there were other ideas that I lived with too and thought about. But this was the one that I felt most connected to and I felt like needed to happen.
There's millions of apps out there.
Yeah.
But I think the amazing thing about your app is it's cool. I feel like people think as soon as you have a baby, you've lost your identity. You're not you. You know, you can't wear makeup.
Yeah.
You don't go out. You don't want to look hot. You can't have a glass of wine with your
Yeah.
friends. And you have to age overnight and become this kind of a completely different person.
I agree.
And I know when I had my first baby, I'd moved from Liverpool to London. All my family were in Liverpool. I was on my own. Pete was in work every day. And the kind of only option then was to kind of go to an NCT group or go to like a baby music class. And you're kind of almost forced to be with people and new mums who you wouldn't hang about with in everyday life. And then that can make you feel even more
worse.
lonely.
100%. I felt like, so when I had Finn, none of my girlfriends were having babies, right? And I had him, I just turned 30 and I had got to this place in my career that I loved, but I didn't have a point of reference, right? Like it's not, I didn't have brothers and sisters. It's not like I grew up around other small kids.
Yeah.
It was just me. So it's not like you have, so the only thing you have is your own mum. But in your head, you're like, okay, but how do I know whether what I'm doing is right? And, it was really hard.
But even for me as one of 4, I still felt the same way.
Yeah.
I still,
Yeah.
doubt myself. Am I doing the right thing? Are you supposed to put them to a nap at this time?
And also, don't you think it's so weird? I even think about it now. They send you home with this person, tiny person. I didn't know what I was doing. I'd never been around babies.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to change him or the difference between the cries or why he was always crying. I had no idea. I was terrified of him. And I actually had real anxiety about him not doing the things that I thought he should be doing.
Yeah.
Sleeping was a really big one. So funny now I've got my daughter and I know what an angel he was. But anyway, and so it's really like—
That's girls for you.
Oh my gosh, and how. So I really felt like it was so hard. And going back to the identity point, I felt like everything out there was talking to me as a mother and I didn't even recognize.
You didn't even feel like a mother yet?
I didn't know what that was. I didn't get it. And so I wanted to make a product that felt cool and felt fresh and felt relevant and felt like I wanted to use it. And it spoke to me. And also all the women who were coming behind me, I felt like, what are they going to use? There's no way they're going on that forum.
Yeah.
Zero chance. So that was the kind of start of it. And it had to feel young and it had to feel fresh and it had to feel funny and irreverent. And you're right. Yeah, I didn't want to be slummy mummy with my hair scraped back and wearing my PJs all day. Like that wasn't me either. So I didn't want to play into that narrative. And that narrative was really big at the time that I had Finn. I think that was motherhood. And actually, I was just trying to find a way to be me and do it. So when we started building Peanut, the first person I spoke to and reached out to was not a mum. And she was cool and young and fresh. And so when,
Why did you reach out to her?
Because she used to work with me and because I just knew that her view would be so different. She hadn't seen any of the mumsy stuff to even be influenced by that. She was just going to come at it from here's a problem, here's how we're going to solve it. What do you think that brand should be and how should it talk? And we started at the brand before we did really the product stuff.
But I was thinking as well with your coming from like the dating app where it's kind of so transient. The story ends when they match up.
Right.
And with your app, you can, it's like cross-generational. You can have, the mum, the daughter.
Yeah.
Like us, and the story doesn't end and you can feel supported and guided through so many pivotal moments in a female's life. And I think
It's that.
that is so unique and incredible about it.
It's such an important thing that you're absolutely right. The churn for dating apps is so interesting, right? Because you go on there, you're dating prolifically, right?
Yeah.
So you're really trying to find.
I've never been on one. Can you believe it? Well, I've been with my husband for 20 years, but I've never even seen how they work.
Oh, well.
I might have a little look later.
Yeah, that's for another time. You can just go on Peanut and then it's kind of similar thing. But you're really like motivated. You're dating prolifically. You're trying, and then you find someone. You drop off the app. You date. You break up. You go back on the app. That's the cycle, right?
Yeah.
But with Peanut, you're joining and you're like, okay, I really need to find someone who's going through the same thing as me at the same time. And there are these moments, and it's not just like being a mum. Sometimes it's trying to get pregnant.
Yeah. So for everyone who doesn't know, can you tell me what exactly is Peanut?
So Peanut is a social network which connects women across these different life stages that we go through. So whether you're going through fertility and trying to conceive, thinking about like what your options are, maybe adoption, surrogacy, women who are pregnant, going through their pregnancy, women who are new mums, right through to women who have got older kids, and more recently, women who are going through perimenopause and menopause.
Okay.
Because as women, we go through these really unique experiences. And what you need more than, a how-to guide is another woman who's been there and can tell you, that's normal, that'll pass, I'm in it too, it's crap, I'm sorry for you, like we'll get there. And so you can find friends on a one-to-one basis, you can join groups. If you're due in June 24, you'll be in a group with other mums who are due at that time. If you live in a certain area, you'll be in a group with other women who live in your area. Whatever it is, we'll find a way to help you find that connectivity.
And how do you tailor it to certain people? Because as you say, there is some women trying to conceive.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be flooded with people who are, yay, I'm pregnant, or here's my picture of my newborn baby.
So important. Here's my pregnancy scan. So this is, we operate on walled gardens. So the more you tell us about who you are and where you are, the more tailored it is, but also we won't show it to you. So if you're if you're trying to conceive, you won't see another woman who's pregnant. You won't see a mum. You'll just see other women who are at the same stage as you.
Wow.
So that if you are in that moment where IVF round 4 has just failed, the people that you want to talk to
are going through a similar thing.
Correct.
That is so important and so clever.
Because the most important thing about building a product like Peanut is empathy in the product design and the product creation. It's not the same as we're a platform for everyone, because that already exists. Social networks are ubiquitous, right? We all use them every day. But to have a platform that is just for you and this experience means that we can tailor it, means that we can think about who you are, what stage you're at, how does it make you feel. I can make sure that, for example, there's nothing too gross on Peanut, right? Women do share things. You want to show a picture of your baby's diaper because you're not sure if that poop's normal. They do it. But
I used to send them to my doctor daily, and he thought I was insane.
Of course, a rash.
Yeah.
Like, or whatever it is, like because you don't know and you just want someone else to be like normal. No one tells you that if you breastfeed, the poop looks different to when you formula feed, all these different things. Like, it's just about normalizing it. So it's not too gross for Peanut. You can ask anything, talk about anything. You've got a vaginal tear because you've just had like a massive baby and it's gone front to back. Everyone's talking about it on Peanut, right? There is nothing that you can't talk about.
That's great, isn't it? Because some people don't have anyone to talk to.
How would you talk about it?
And you're sitting there with this newborn baby thinking, is this normal? Am I weird? What do I do?
I don't want to have sex anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Right. I feel totally grossed out. I'm touched out. I don't want to.
Which is something men don't understand after you've given birth.
Of course not. And
Which
again, no one tells you, because if you don't know anyone, if you're not in that moment, also maybe you don't want to talk about it with your like nearest and dearest. Go to a room full of women. There is nothing like being a room full of women who will tell you exactly how everything is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Oh, this happened to me. And it's just that on the app.
Talk me through how you built this. Did you get investments? How did you get investments for any of our listeners who, have got a great idea and want to build their own app?
Yeah. If you want to build your own app or your own business, I should say, the first thing to say is you don't need to build an app in order to know whether that's going to work. Test it in any other scenario other than building an app. Set up a WhatsApp group and see if people engage with you.
Yeah.
Do an email list and see how people do it. You have to do so much investigative groundwork before you have to go and build the app. Don't start at the app. The app is like the product of all the rest of it. That's my like key advice. But in terms of what I did, the idea was one thing. Getting people to understand that we need this and women need this was quite another, right? You walk into a room of men and you're like, so I'm going to build this product. It's just for women.
Instantly, you've lost half of them.
Already, they're like, well, that means their TAM is 50% of the world. So immediately, and they can't use it. And then you start talking to them about why it's important, and already they're like, yeah, I mean, is that an issue? My wife is on Instagram all the time. Does she need another app? And on and on. And so there was a lot of education. I had to do a lot of education. It's easy to think about it now because the conversation has changed. Think about how much we talk about women and women's issues and motherhood and fertility. And we have totally changed the narrative. There's loads of work to do.
2017, it's changed. I actually came to the launch of your own.
And think about how different that was, right? At that time, to go and tell people, we're going to get a room full of women to talk about what it feels like to be a woman and to be a mother or to be trying to conceive, whatever it is. People are like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's, it wasn't, we weren't talking about it. Femtech didn't exist. That wasn't even an expression.
What's femtech?
That's what people now call anyone who's building like in feminine health tech. So femtech was a new invention, I would say, in the past couple of years. That wasn't around. So I was going in and doing a whole education about the value of the market. Women are responsible for trillions of dollars of household spend. We make the decisions on 85% of what goes in the home. That might be the food you eat, the car you drive, where you live, the school your kids go to. We make those decisions.
I think it's higher than that.
Yeah, and exactly.
It's 100% in my house.
And because, and mine. And because of that, it's like, this is a valuable consumer set, right? This is the most valuable consumer set. And yet you're expecting them to talk about these things that only happen to them on platforms that girl that's going to do that dance, or your cousin is going to like advertise his spare room, or that politician is going to lobby to be elected. They have to talk about these issues on those platforms. It's in Congress. Doesn't make any sense. Of course not. So we had to do a lot of education. We had to educate the market on why it was necessary. And so in answer to your question, yes, I did raise money. I raised institutional money, which means I raised from funds. I didn't raise from individuals. And that kind of set me on a path of, okay, now we build. Because I raised without a product. I just raised with me and a deck.
And your passion and your deck.
And a deck.
So what did your deck look like at this point? So you're walking into a room.
Pretty bad, Abby. Pretty bad.
I'm visioning you like sketching things.
It was a low. It was an all-time low. There were times when I would send, like, I'd write something on a piece of paper and I'd take a picture and I'd WhatsApp it to Hannah, who was going to embark on this crazy journey with me. And she'd be like, is that, what is that? Trying to decipher it. But, at that moment in time, all I knew is we're going to build an app that's going to change women's lives. And you have to believe that I can do that. And that was the start of the journey.
So they're buying into you as well, effectively.
100%.
Yeah. But to me, that's scary to me.
When you're fundraising, it's really important to know that whatever you've raised, they don't give it to you for free. It's not just like, it's not a donation. They get your company. They get part of your company. Every time you raise, you dilute. So you're diluting the ownership that you have in your business. That means you're inviting someone else into your business who is allowed to have a view and an opinion on what you do. And they have rights as an investor. They might have board rights. They might have protection rights, i.e. what decisions you can make.
Oh my God.
Yep. And because you've invited them in, you better be absolutely sure that you've got the right people for you.
Yes.
It's a two-way thing. The first money I took, I was so grateful that anyone wanted to invest in me and my business idea. I was like, I'll take it. Great. Yeah. But what I didn't ever think is, how do you treat your founders? What track record do you have? How well do the companies that you invest in perform? What do you do? Not when it's good. Everyone loves everyone when everything's good. What do you do when it's bad? How do you treat Exactly. What do you do? How have you helped? Speak to those founders. It's a two-way thing. It's like a marriage.
Yeah.
It's probably harder to get out of than a marriage, to be honest. Once they're in, that's your business. And so
do you need that much? Can you not?
It depends what you're building and how. I mean,
Can you not build this on a budget and retain
absolutely
more of your company?
Peanut's been going for 7 years. So we've been going.
I can't believe that was 7 years ago when I went to the launch.
We were so youthful.
We are. You still are.
We are. You are. So it was, you are, of course, always thinking about how, where the money is going. We were pre-revenue. So we did not raise revenue for a very long time. Because we were building the product, we were investing in the community, because we had to build the tech and the infrastructure because of the unknown unknowns. You don't know what you don't know. So we had a lot of work to do in terms of building that. And that takes time, and that takes learning, and that takes iteration. Get it wrong, do it again, get it wrong, do it again. And so it's not the same for every business, but definitely my advice would always be, if you are building a company, wherever you can, make sure that you are driving revenue from day one, even if it's a small amount. You can build.
So if one of our listeners has got £1,000 of their savings, what are the first steps they should do?
Right. Well, the first thing is you need to validate whether you've got a business that you're building for yourself, or whether it's a business that other people
will buy into,
will use. Yeah. And whatever that might be. So other people might be another business. You might be building like B2B, or other people might be a consumer facing market. But is it a business?
Yeah.
And the only way to test that is to start having interviews, conversations. I interviewed 200 women before I launched Peanut.
So what, are you just going out and speaking to random people?
I'd get one woman to introduce me to another, and get me to introduce me to another. Wow. And so I would ask her all these questions, and you get all of the feelings about whether they'd use it. Are they interested? Are they skeptical? Which bits don't they like?
Did they come back?
All of that. And so you have to keep doing that. So that's how I started. I asked every single, and then I'd speak with her. Can you introduce me to another? By the end of that process, when we came to launch, I had 200 women who would definitely download Peanut on launch.
Wow.
If no one else did,
Didn't you have
those 200 women.
450,000
monthlies.
In the first week?
Yeah. It was crazy.
That is nuts.
As much as it was really challenging to launch at that time, it was also really exciting because there wasn't anything else. No one was talking about these issues. So I think it was really helpful that we could tell our story. Storytelling is a huge part of any business. And we could tell our story and people wanted to get behind it. You have to be a really bad person to not love Peanut, right? That makes you just fundamentally not nice. So it was easy for people to get behind the concept of, women want support, they need each other. And so people would want to tell our story, and we were able to really
spread the word,
go from there.
Yeah.
But it is astonishing how many people I meet who have a business idea, and I'm like, what's your route to market? Don't know. It's the most important thing. There are thousands of apps released to the App Store every single day.
Yeah.
There are thousands of businesses launched every single month, and most will fail. And so how are you going to make sure that people know who you are? How are you going to make sure that people download your app? How are you going to make sure that people want to engage with your product? And almost you have to start there, because if you don't have that, it's going to be really hard. You might build the most stunning, beautiful product for an audience of one.
Yeah. And is it important to have a perfect exit plan when you go into these investors? Because obviously, ultimately, they want their money back. As you say, it's not a donation.
Yeah.
So,
it's a return.
Yeah.
They want a multiple.
Your exit plan has to be as strong as your pitch.
Totally. You want to know, whatever you're valuing the business at today, what's it going to be worth in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years is usually the cycle. But what are you building towards, and what are you looking to get to? And that means that, yes, you need to understand, is this a company that's going to go public? Is this a company that's going to be acquired? What does that look like? Who else is in the market? Who's analogous? What are the other examples that you've seen? Are you the next Facebook? Like, what is that journey? And at this point, no one knows. You're all dreaming, but you have to have the dream.
You have a big dream.
Because otherwise you don't know what you're driving towards if you're just, building out there. And by the way, some businesses are not suitable for investment, will be an amazing lifestyle business, and they will never have that exit in that like very big multiple exit. And that's also totally fine and okay.
Yeah.
The art is knowing which one you've built.
Which one you are. So how much did you raise for the investment on your app?
In total, we've raised 23 million to date.
That is insane.
Thank you.
So you've got your investment, you've created the app. How do you bring it to market and make money? Because Peanut is free to join.
Yeah. We're free to use, free to join. And when we first started, that was intentional, right? It was always a focus that we are going to make sure that we build the community, that we make sure that we have this engaged user base, that the product is beautiful. We've spent a lot of time behind the scenes, a lot of what you don't see on safety and security to make sure that we are really optimized for that. So we do a lot.
Yeah, gosh, I just thought about that.
Yeah, AI before it was cool in AI. Peanut has lots of our own large language models where we're thinking about the type of content that you see, the type of people that you see. We're predicting the likelihood of you being a good or a bad actor. So we do a lot of work behind the scenes to try and protect the authenticity and the safety of the community. That takes time. You have to build it, iterate. And that also takes, a tech infrastructure and investment that you need. So that was always the focus.
But how do you make money?
So now we had to turn on monetization. And I'm going to tell you, when I first told investors this is how I wanted to monetize, everyone was like, no. Not many people really understand how a dating app makes money, actually. So you think in your head that it's, but you subscribe per month. Yeah, but for what? So if you think about all of the apps that we use that are free to use and free to join, there is a premium version of that product that you pay in order to get something. So on Peanut, you can pay to accelerate your experience in the app. We're busy, we've got busy lives. So if you want to accelerate the way to find those friends, find that connection, you can pay, increase your visibility, improve and enhance your filters of who you'll see. You can pay small amounts in order to unlock these features. And you can do that on a weekly, on a monthly, on a yearly, on a lifetime basis. So that was the kind of starting point. That's how we're going to monetize. And that has been amazingly successful. Of course, it's how I know how to monetize. It's what I've built before, so I understand it.
Because of that, was that easy? Did you find it was easier in some ways to get the investment because you'd been an integral part of two major apps beforehand?
Of course. It's much easier for me to go and talk about what I'm going to build and the experience that I've had based on what I've built before. Of course. However, it's astonishing how many people don't really understand what that business looks like and how they work. And secondly, this was in a completely different field. The first thing people would say is, why don't you do another dating app? You're really good at dating. And so I had to do a new sell on that. But yes, from a monetization perspective, I had two very, very good examples of how it worked and how well it worked. So that part was kind of an easy part. And then the second part is, how do I bring value to users who are never going to pay? Not every user will pay. But there are people who will always engage in Peanut. They will always be there. How do we make sure that they are enjoying their experience and get value from the product in a different way? And so we work with brand partners. That might be a government agency, that might be a public health organization in the US, where it's value add to the users and the users get a value and an experience from that, and where it makes sense in the context. Maybe it's a new product that comes out and we'll tell our users about it. So it's sharing that, but not in a let me follow you around the internet way, just in a way of these are brands where we know that they have value to our user base. We have so much understanding of who our women are, where they are, what she's interested in. It's not about changing how we view her or what she views in Peanut. It's about how do we add value to her experience.
Where is your number one fan base?
US.
US?
Yeah. So
I did notice the spell of mom, actually.
Yeah.
With an O.
Yeah, we're 68% in the US and the rest in the UK.
And did that happen on its own, or was that something that you...
I mean, that's a great question. And the answer to that is the US was always a very big focus for me in terms of making sure that we were there and had a presence there. It's very hard. It's easier now, but certainly 2017, it was very, very hard to have a product that was from the UK that was going to launch in the US.
America. Yeah.
It was virtually impossible. In fact, there were probably only a few that I could think of that were around that time. Spotify was obviously a front runner, but around that time who had really had that success.
Yeah.
And we always wanted it to feel, the whole beauty of Peanut is it has to feel like it speaks to you. You have to feel like
it's only you there.
It's only me. They get me. And so it has to talk to you and address you. So if you're in the US, the spelling will be mom. If you're in the UK, the spelling will be mum. And we localize the product accordingly. So it will feel like you.
There's so much to think about, isn't there?
So much to think about. And again, I have to say, but for what I'd built before, I never would have thought about all of those layers for this.
How important is company culture and building your team?
When people used to say and talk about culture and team build in the early days of Peanut, I couldn't relate to what they were saying. And this is not a very fashionable thing to say, but it's absolutely true. I would read books. It was kind of pre-podcast. So I'd be reading things business leaders, trying to understand what they were doing and thinking about when they were building the business. And culture, just for me, I was like, I don't know why I'm talking about that. I don't even know if I'm going to have a business. Like I was, it felt very unrelated. The truth of the matter is it's totally integral to what you're building, because if your team don't sing from the same hymn sheet as you, if you're not all on the Kool-Aid and you're not all driven by the same thing, if you don't share and have the same philosophies on what you're building and why it's important, it won't work. So culture actually is not this big, fancy, scary beast that I thought it was. It felt like really, culture felt pretentious. It felt like, oh, that's something that, people talk about, but did they really think about it when they were starting the company? That was my view. And the answer is 100% they were, because it's how you hire the right people who are going to stand by you and get on that rocket ship and work those hours and take the hits and take the wins and be excited by it. And so I think I did it accidentally, and yet it's really important. And it can be as basic as my company culture is I take the view that we are building something that will change people's lives for the better.
Yeah.
And therefore, everything that we do around that, who we hire, how we think about what we build, how we design what we build is all focused on that. It can literally be that. And that culture, that kind of, that statement, that mission statement will seep into every other part.
Through, yeah. Finally, the launch. When you finally launched the app in 2017, how did you feel? All your hard work.
It was so scary. It was so scary. I mean, it was this really funny thing where a London newspaper was doing an article on the launch, and I think they went early.
Oh God.
And the app wasn't, like, it was still the beta and it wasn't out. And I was like, and that was like the anxiety that the whole team had, because they were like, ship it, press go. So that we didn't miss that like early adopting crowd. So that was the first thing. It was so nervous. So much anxiety. Also, you are literally putting yourself out there and saying, do you like me?
I know.
Do you want to be my friend? That's really how it feels. That's what you're doing. And it is so terrifying, yeah. But it was amazing. And then amazing things happened to us. We were so fortunate.
I feel like that with this, doing this new podcast, like I haven't got Pete sitting next to me, and it's kind of, but
it's exposing, right? You feel quite exposing. And it's personal.
Even when you believe in it, you still feel a little sense of vulnerability still.
Of course. And also you've got all the people who have ever said anything bad about you ever in your head. And so that, for whatever reason, is louder than the good things that people are saying or doing. So you've got that kind of happening.
Well, going back to your point, I thought you made a really good point there, where you're saying you're taking the negative and turning it into a positive, for all of our listeners who are like, oh my God, how do I deal with, negative criticism or... That's how you do it. You work on that part until it becomes...
And if the easiest thing in the world is to say no, because you'll never be wrong, right? If you say no to someone and then they make it successful, you're like, well, I was just being cautious, but I always knew, right? It's really easy to say no. It's really hard to say yes.
Yeah.
Getting to yes is really hard, because you have to overcome fear and your aversity to risk and how you'll feel or look or seem if it doesn't work.
Ego.
And it's fragile, right? It's super fragile. But once you're over it, honestly, now I feel like I've got no ego. Like, what's the point? Yeah. What could be worse than any of the terrible days that I've had? But the win is still there. Like, there's so much out there to be gained and to be done, and to feel those moments of like joy.
So what is next for Peanut?
For Peanut, world domination.
Where obviously. Are
we going? We need to go global now. Right, we've got the US and we've got the UK, and we continue to expand there, and we have localized into Spanish, and we want to continue to grow in LATAM. So LATAM next, and then into Europe, into France, into Spain, into Italy.
And why don't you do that on the offset?
Because you want to go in and seed, because you want to go in and make sure that you've got a baseline of users, because you want to go in and make sure that culturally you understand what the landscape is.
Yeah.
Launching in Mexico is very different to launching in France, for example. You have to understand all of the dynamics at play before you do it. But one thing I'm certain about, the issues that Peanut is addressing are global issues for women.
Of course.
Loneliness, isolation, feeling like they can't get the right advice, feeling like they need friendship. That's a global issue.
Yes.
We are in an epidemic of loneliness, and we can change
it's a killer, isn't it? Loneliness.
Absolutely, and we can change it, and we are changing it for so many women. And so now we need to do that on a global footprint.
I think you'll definitely do it as well.
Thank you.
Definitely. Let's talk about you giving back now. You've recently launched Peanut Starter, which is to help other women with entrepreneurial skills and ideas and fund them, basically.
Yeah. So when I started Peanut, I remember being in one of like the however many pitches I did, and someone saying to me, you should do a friends and family round first.
Oh, yeah. Like, good luck.
What's a friends and family round? Then you go and find out what a friends and family round is. And I was like, wait, what? I don't have friends and family who can write casual 50K checks.
Exactly.
What does that even mean? And who has that? And actually the landscape of who had that did not look like me, right? It was not anything to do with my world, my background, my life. And, I wasn't a 22-year-old MIT grad from living in the Bay Area. That was not my profile. And so, no, I didn't have friends and family who could like invest in my new startup. In fact, I have friends and family who thought I was crazy and wondered why I was leaving like my really lovely job to go and do something else. So I always have had that thing that actually it disproportionately impacts women. Right? We don't have that same opportunity in terms of friends and family, either because we're starting families, by the way, and we have that pressure and we have the mortgage or the bills or other dependents on us.
People don't want to invest in women for that reason, because they think, they're going to leave soon and have a baby, and then we're going to be paying her for a year maternity pay.
All of that stuff that we carry around with us is also totally true of investment and getting women off the ground. And I don't feel that young men need my help. I think there's plenty of young guys who are being helped all the time, and probably people better suited to help them. But I can help young women and I can invest in them, and we can do that. So we have this, it's a micro fund, it's called Start Her. And so it's really focused on being the first check-in to women who have an idea. The concept has to be something that's grounded in social good. And with it, you get access to people I know. So a community of women, it might be a publisher, it might be a seed investor. And we kind of look at everyone who applies, and we look at the range of capabilities that we all have together, and we say, okay, we could help her. And so it might be, there's a brilliant business, it's called Liberaire, that we invested in, and it's about making adaptable lingerie for women with disabilities. And it's all patented. So rather than Velcro, it's a magnet. So if you want to wear a nice bra, but you don't have full capability of or use of your arms, it's a magnet and it still looks stunning. And so it's just things like that that really solve problems. So I do that. And of course, obviously, I still love tech. So I invest in lots to do with tech as well. So that's Start Her.
And is this, do you think you wanted to do this because of being turned down yourself?
Yeah, because I didn't
and realising
the
lack of opportunities that are available for women?
I didn't have it. I'm so fortunate to have been part of an exit, and when Bumble went to IPO, and to have been and benefited from that. The most important thing to me is to make sure that I pay it forward, right? So investing in other women is high up there. Investing in tech, where I think that it's underserved, is high up there. I invest in funds who I think are doing good things, whether that's the Female Founders Fund or equivalent. I'm always investing in funds where I think that they are also sharing a mission, which is women make really, really good businesses. Statistically, we make good businesses, better businesses. But we still get 2% of all venture raised. 2%.
I know. I read that. It's just mind-blowing.
So, of course, we have to make a change. And I think that the change has to be made at its earliest point.
And it's champion women. It's women champion women.
We have to have it.
There's no more powerful army than that. And,
absolutely.
It's building for the future. And if, I think if our mums would have had that kind of opportunity, and if our kids have a better opportunity than what we're getting, we're only going to create a stronger...
Like, it's a community, right?
Yeah, we're going to bring a stronger community.
We are, because we have to have, feminism isn't about like women
hating
more
men
than men. It's just about equality. Like, how do we get to the level playing field? And that means that we have to have more women who have more moments of liquidity who can invest in women.
Yeah.
And because it's a cycle. And that's how men got to be business industry leaders, because they invest in each other's business, right? So we have to do the same.
Yeah.
And we have to keep investing and building each other. And you know that adage of, be friends with a woman who will mention your name in a room of opportunities. And it's that. No woman will do better PR for you than someone who's met you and she'll
Believes in you, likes you.
100%. She'll go in and PR you like she would,
I do that.
Of course.
I do that too.
But that's why you're here and why others aren't, because it's so important to pay it forward and to share it and to talk about her. Because if you are naturally someone who wants to champion and share, and women are the original influencers, like they could make or break a business before it was a thing.
Yeah.
You wanted a builder, you asked mom. You want to find out who's single in your like local village, you ask mom and she sets them up. Like they were the influencers. And so really it's only just about bringing that and bringing it forward and making it work for us this time.
Yeah.
We have to be the beneficiaries.
Here. Well, I've absolutely loved having you on.
Thank you.
I'd love to have you on again to hear more about what you've got coming up and everything you're doing to build this incredible community for women. But I know my listeners will be dying to know, if you could give them one piece of advice, what would it be?
There is so much out there now in terms of content. Listen and read. Listen to your podcast. Listen to the other podcasts that are out there. Read books. Like, get all of that information. There's so much of it now. There is literally no reason that you can't really educate yourself on what those fundamental principles are to get started. It's there. You can do it. And then go for it. There will never be a perfect time. Yeah. There's no perfect time. It's now.
Time is now.
It's now.
Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yay!